It is time to get into this episode of Sister Wives, Season 18, Episode 8, entitled The Writing is on the Wall. The writing is on the wall. And essentially, this episode consists of 3 different parts. The first part is a conversation that Meri has with Cody and Robin. The second part is a group conversation that Janelle and Christine and some of the kids have about themselves and the family. And then the third part is Janelle's awkward AF date with Cody to Mariposa in Sedona. By the way, I know you lived in Arizona. I know you loved Sedona. Have you ever been to Mariposa? Is it lit or what?
It's funny because every time we went up to Sedona, which we used to go up a lot, for anniversaries and dates and all that kind of stuff, we would always drive by Mariposa and it was always closed because it's like one of those restaurants that's like apparently super fancy and it's only open during certain hours of the day or whatever. Like one time we went up in the summer and they had closed for the entire summer. They had closed for 4 months straight. Not for
Oh.
construction or anything, just because they didn't want to be open, I guess. So it makes sense why Cody was like, I've been wanting to get this reservation there for a long time. We never got to eat there, so I don't know if it's actually any good or any worth waiting, but it's a nice restaurant, I guess, from the
Well,
outside.
I was listening to Red Lipstick reality TV. You know, I love her. And I guess she's in Arizona. I had no idea. And she is familiar with Mariposa. She's like, it's all right. The food's okay. It's a gorgeous restaurant, like floor to ceiling windows and like a big fucking bar. But it's not that difficult to actually get in. So
Really?
Cody going on and on and on about how it's so impossible to get reservations. Apparently that's not the case. Like people were calling to see if they could get in this weekend, Friday or Saturday, and they could. So
Maybe I'm
just
thinking of a
a
different one then.
maybe Cody being a narc. All right, let's start with the conversation with Cody and Robin and Meri. Of course, Robin and Cody roll up to Meri's house in separate vehicles as if they weren't actually spending the day together, giving the appearance of like, no, we're not always together. I don't favor this wife.
I
And then
hate
they
that.
walk in. I know you hate them. They walk in, and Cody takes great pains to sit on the far end of the island. Robin takes pains to sit on the other side of the island. And this is where we get into some of the commentary about this, because Cody says that Robin is super sensitive about showing any undue affection to Cody. She doesn't want the other wives to feel some kind of way, which would be the way of truth, which is the
Yeah.
fact that he favors you and he's always doting on you. And Cody, in his talking head on the couch, talks about how it's been an unsafe situation for him and Robin to be able to show even a modicum of affection because the other wives have such a fucking problem with it, Beatrice, those petty hoes.
Yeah, he talks about how it's a conversation they've had with their family about whether or not it's respectful to show PDA in front of the other wives because other polygamists do, but we've never been able to do that. And Robin and I can't show that we are each other's place of solace and that we are in love with each other because other people have a problem with it. To which Meri says in her talking head, well, when I'm in a good place with Cody, I don't have a problem with him showing affection to the other wives because I know he still cares about me. But obviously, when I'm not in a good place, it makes me feel a little bit insecure and uncomfortable when he's all PDA with somebody else and I'm not getting any. So Cody's a piece of shit.
In his talking head, he's trying to place blame on all of the wives for not being able to handle his unending love for Robin. And with Meri, we actually get the truth. Like, no, we're not the problem. If you had administered this polygamy bullshit in a fair and equitable way, if you had spent the same amount of time with each wife and showed them the same amount of energy and affection, we wouldn't need you not to show the other wives affection. We'd feel comfortable and we'd feel secure. But because you have never been able to do this from the beginning of our relationships, and I think this predates Robin, I think he's been mismanaging this from the very beginning. From the beginning of these relationships, you have been unable to show affection to any of the wives because the other ones would get jealous. And that's something you did, Cody Brown. That's not something that they did.
Exactly. But it's Cody's MO. He's going to blame literally everybody else but himself and but Robin. He's been blaming the wives for his no relationships with his children, so he's been blaming the kids for their shit. Like he just blames everybody but himself. That's just all it is.
And I have no respect for that or you, Cody Brown. Next, we get into Meri very awkwardly for somebody who is willing to have hard conversations, as she has told us in the last few episodes. Like, we're the ones, Robin and I, we're the ones that can have the difficult conversations to move this family forward. For someone who's so adept in having conversations, she does not know how to open her mouth and say, I'm relocating to Utah, spending most of my time there, but I'm going to keep a home here because I want you to know I'm committed to this family. I am still committed to you. I still think there's hope. Whether you believe it or not, I believe in my faith and I believe in us. She doesn't know how to say that. And so she hems and haws and kind of, what did he call Robin with the donkey? She kind of circles the donkey. I don't know. She just tries to get to the point and tell him that she's leaving. And he's just like dumb. He's dumb anyway. We're starting at like a 0 point of super dumb. And so he's not understanding why she's struggling. He's like, what's the big fucking deal? Get out of here. If you don't want to be here, God, thank you. I can't wait for you to leave. I've been waiting for you to leave, bitch. What did you think of that?
It was pretty sad to see because Mary's like obviously very nervous about talking to him about this because she's worried that he's going to think that she's leaving him. And she tells him, I'm going to move my business up to Utah to the B&B. And he's like, okay, cool. Bet. Awesome. Go ahead and do it. He's like, are you going to go live up there? She's like, no, I've never wanted to live up there. That's never been my goal. You knew this when I bought the fucking B&B. I've never wanted to live up in that haunted B&B. And he's like, well, why don't you do that though? He's like, you're going to take up a room. You might as well just live up there. He's like, why are you even down here? It's wild.
And this is where Robin is like, God damn it, Cody. I need you to give her some hope. I need you to give a little rope that she can hold on to. This is not what I want you to be saying to her, because she's trying to get us to believe that she actually wants Meri around, as opposed to just wanting Meri's money, which is what they ultimately get to with Coyote Pass, by the way. But she starts to get upset with Cody because he's not comforting Meri. He's not encouraging Meri because, quite frankly, Cody Brown doesn't give a fuck. And we see Meri on the couch saying, I knew he wasn't going to give a fuck. I knew that he wouldn't give a shit if I'm moving back to Utah or if I'm not going to be around anymore. He does not care, which again, as Ellie said, this is humiliating and this is really fucking sad.
It's cruel too. It's cruel on both Robin and Cody's side because Cody knows that Meri is still in love with him for some reason and still wants to make the marriage work. And I know he's told her multiple times that he doesn't want a marriage and he doesn't want to reconcile at all, but he still knows that Meri's still trying and that she still has all of this hope. So for him to just be like, I don't give a shit when
But he
she's very,
doesn't. What is he
well,
supposed
I
to do? Is he
know.
supposed to act like he does?
Well, maybe you should just be like, Meri, I don't know why you're afraid to tell me this because you know I don't care. Like, why don't you just be honest in this situation? You know what I mean? Like, just be fucking honest with her at every turn you can. But to just be like, oh, okay, cool, whatever, and then suggest the bright idea of how he wants her to live on Coyote Pass.
Oh my gosh, we're going to get to that. Before we even get there, though, we have the ring debacle because at some point, as we're having this awkward AF conversation, Meri notices that he's got a new ring. Now, of course, Reddit, with all of the sleuths there, have already looked up this ring. We've got big pictures on Reddit. I think it cost about $1,600. It's like got a stallion in the ring. It's ugly to the max. I mean, it's super ugly. Well, stallions represent strength and freedom, Beatrice, and he's a strong
Ugh.
man. Didn't you know
Oh,
that?
no.
And so Meri notices that the Clado ring that everybody wore to signify the union and the bond and really the spiritual bond is gone. I didn't go back to see if she was wearing it. I don't know if she's still wearing it.
I didn't notice. I couldn't really see on her hands if she was wearing it or not.
And I also don't know if Robin is still wearing that Clado ring. But Meri brings it up. She's like, oh, nice ring. And Cody just starts doing this weird, I mean, I guess it's just a ring. It's a nice ring. And Robin's like, yeah, it's a cool ring, right? As if it's not normal for Meri to think it's sad and disappointing and weird that he's replaced his wedding ring. There's a symbolism in that. There's a lot of meaning in that. And instead of just fucking showing up in your ring and hoping that she gets the picture and the message, why don't you just open your big, fat, fucking thin-lipped mouth and tell Meri that it's over. I'm wearing this ring because we are no longer married and there is no hope for us to be married at any time in the future. And so we got a different wedding band. But he acts stupid. Like, why is it a big deal? I don't understand. Why are we talking about this?
Well, he probably felt awkward about it because Robin probably was the one that bought it for him. Like they probably either bought it together or she bought it for him for a gift. And that's why Robin's like, yeah, it's a cool ring, right? Ha ha ha. But it's like, yeah, it replaced his wedding ring. It replaced the Clara ring, which was a symbol of their entire family unit. And so if Robin and Cody got this ring together, then it just further proves that the only wife he's actually loyal to is only ever going to be Robin. That's why he got all awkward and stammered about it.
I just don't understand why these people can't have straightforward conversations. Why Meri can't just say in the moment, well, does that mean that you are no longer committed to this marriage with me? Does that mean, like, is something changed? Is something different? Like, why can't we just have an open, healthy discussion, open, healthy discourse about the actual state of all things? But you guys are fucking pretending, you're hiding, and then you're lying on camera, and I'm sick of it.
I'm tired of it.
Sick of it.
I'm over it.
Well, also Reddit, being the sleuths that they are, noticed Cody's watch, which is a fucking Rolex. Cody in this scene is wearing a Rolex, and of course, without a crystal ball, has already gone deep, and that Rolex sells for anywhere from like $6,900 to $10,000.
Are
And
you
also,
serious?
I'm serious. Also, Robin has a matching Rolex.
What?
This just kills me. It kills me knowing that Janelle is living in her dormitory apartment, that Janelle has all of her shit cluttered, that Janelle has a galley kitchen that she can barely move it around in to make her fucked up looking lasagna, that Janelle doesn't really have a solid place to land. She doesn't have a house. And here these motherfuckers are with their Rolexes and $1,600 rings and their fancy clothes and their prints and their paintings and all of the fucking amethyst angel wings and boxes upon boxes in their hoarder house. I'm just like, I hate these people so much. I mean, the production is doing such a good job of like showing us these different things, not necessarily going out of their ways to like zoom in on it, but like allowing us to see because they know how feral and crazy we are.
Oh, yeah.
But, and I just, go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm just like, I'm apoplectic how unfair this shit is. How do these wives not kill him and drag him through the streets and throw him into a pile of garbage and set it on fire? I'm sorry. Is that violent? Sorry about that. Sorry.
For real though, like I don't know how they keep their composure and their cool with this dude who has paraded around his new hot wife the last 10 years and then has put her in a literal castle up on a mountain on Flagstaff on 4 acres with a heated fucking driveway and all of this rich shit that he floods her with and showers her with, and himself because he loves the fame and the fortune, with all of the other wives' money, and then is baffled that his wives are leaving him.
And that the world hates him.
Yeah.
And that the
It's
world
amazing.
is tap dancing on his downfall. But it's just so unfair. Granted, you know, Janelle did buy that $85,000 fifth wheel, honey, and that was a stupid purchase. And she even seems to acknowledge that in this season. But nonetheless, the amount of money these folks are spending on useless items like Dickensian villages and mini bikes just galls me to no end. Fuck these hoes. All right, moving on, let's bop on over to Garrison's house. And we have to start by just shouting out Garrison because he has actually, at his age, purchased a house in Flagstaff, Arizona. And I just want you to speak a little bit to this because you lived in Phoenix for a little while and I know you were trying to buy a house. Look, talk about, around the same time, by the way, talk about that market in Arizona.
Dude, Flagstaff itself is so expensive. I mean, it's a college town, but it is expensive to live up there. So the fact that he was able to buy a house, I'm like, what do you do for a living? How can I be your sugar baby? Because that's like, that's some money right there, especially in this market too. Like he's buying it in what, 2022, 2021? So
Probably
like,
2021. Yep.
yeah, so a really competitive fucking market where everything was just like skyrocketing and shit was getting really, really expensive. Like, props, mad props.
Well, I just remember, I think you were also looking for a home in Phoenix around the same time, around the same season, and you were like bidding and bidding, and that shit was falling through, and people were bidding 50,000 over for like absolute dumps in Phoenix. So the fact that he was able to procure himself a house, and I think currently he's 25 years old, so we're talking at 22, 23 years old, is a Herculean, is that the right word? Herculean feat for a young man. And I think he got in with a good interest rate too. So good on him. I'm just
Yeah.
really, really proud of him. He didn't do it with his daddy's money. He did it all on his own, I assume. Anyway, so we are meeting at Garrison's house. We have Janelle coming on over. She's bringing Gabe. And Christine is coming over. She's bringing Gwen because apparently Gabe, Gwen, and Garrison are considering moving in together into Garrison's house. So what did you think about this scene, Beatrice?
I mean, it seemed a little producer driven, a little bit, just because I know that Gwen no longer lives there. She got married to her girlfriend B, and so they probably live in their own place together now. But it seemed like kind of wholesome on the outside, like them just, talking about how they're going to divide up the spaces and how they'll sort everything out. And it seemed cute.
I thought so too. And it was also kind of a platform for them to discuss holidays and how, they had spent the holidays and how Christine really loved it. And I was feeling a little uncomfortable because Gwen wasn't there. And according to Gwen's retelling of the situation, nobody even called her on Christmas. Although Gwen's a little bit of a drama queen because Gwen said she already had a trip planned over Christmas and she was already not going to be there. But like, whatever, whatever, whatever. I thought it was a really interesting conversation, especially when Gabe started speaking on the couch to the camera. I think what he said was that everybody abandoned the ship to different lifeboats and kind of went their own way. He also talked about, I guess the last time he really talked with his dad was on the mountain on Coyote Pass, where they had that conversation about COVID. And if I recall correctly, Cody spent a lot of time in that conversation blaming Janelle and what their mom was doing. And I think even called her fat and that she had like comorbidities because of her obesity. And he was kind of going in on them and going in on Janelle. And so that obviously has left Gabe and Garrison with a bad taste in their mouth. And they really don't have a relationship anymore with Cody as a result.
Yeah, and I mean, shocker to that, right? Like, I wouldn't want to talk to my dad after that point, too. I'd be like, okay, I'm done with you. And I think this is also the point where I think Janelle starts talking in her talking head about how she's kind of worried about her boys. In
Mm-hmm.
particular, isn't she worried about Gabe or Garrison? I can't remember which one she's worried about. The one that keeps everything in but feels really deeply. I can't remember which one she was
Gabe.
talking about.
It's
Gabe.
Gabe.
Yeah, she's really worried about him
Yeah.
because he feels so deeply and he is so sensitive about it, but he doesn't really talk about it. He doesn't open up about it and he doesn't really express it. He just holds it down, which is not a good way to handle things.
No, you need to be getting therapy for your children. You need to be helping them because, as Dr. Phil used to say, it's the same sex parent that has the largest and most important impact on the child. And so a boy really needs their father, a girl really needs their mother. And these boys have just kind of been let out to pasture. They don't have access to their father anymore. And I think what Janelle was saying was that Garrison is feeling things, but he's not really off gassing. Gabe is feeling things, but he's not really off gassing. Whereas Garrison is just mad. He's just becoming kind of a different dude. He's like, fuck that noise. I'm not going to let that upset me, but it's kind of changed the person that he is. We also have Christine kind of chiming in about the potential of these siblings living together and saying that she doesn't think it's going to work. She thinks it would be problematic because of their fundamental political differences, again, with Gwen being, I guess, pretty left and Garrison being, I think, pretty right. I don't know where Gabe falls on the spectrum. Do you?
I don't. I have no idea.
I think he's probably right of center, like we said earlier, but Christine thinks that's just kind of a recipe for disaster. And it's not if it happens, it's when they all get into an argument and have a fight. And that's why Garrison's like, and you two ladies, you're going to be co signing on this lease because if these people bounce, somebody's going to be paying. I thought that was interesting. I looked at Christine's face. I don't think she was expecting that.
Really? You don't think so? I mean, he
Mm-mm.
owns the house. Like, I expected him to draft leases for everybody.
Yeah, but Gwen's an adult and so is Gabe. And so I don't think Christine expected to be asked to co sign
Mm.
for Gwen. That was just my vibe. I could totally be wrong.
Well, I mean, maybe her credit isn't that good. She is young. She's an adult, but maybe her credit wasn't built up enough for
I know,
her to
but
be
he's
able to
not
get
going to
approved.
do a credit check on Gwendolyn. He just
Maybe
wants
he
to make
is.
sure. He wants to make sure somebody's going to pay those bills if she pulls a Mariah and bounces and doesn't pay her lease and stuff. We also have the conversation from Christine about the difference between her children and Janelle's children. And Christine says that her kids really didn't have access to Cody. Like, he wasn't around. They were straight up neglected. Whereas Janelle's kids really did have Cody around. They had the benefit of connecting with their father and having time with their father. So she thinks it's affecting Janelle's kids a lot more than it affected her kids. Do you think that's true?
I think so. I mean, I think Christine's kids have kind of come around to the fact that their dad doesn't really care too much about their family at all or their mom. That's why Christine was the first one to leave. But Janelle had more time with Cody. I mean, they had a kind of a different relationship where it wasn't really intimate. Well, I mean, I guess it was intimate. He had that renaissance with her in Las Vegas, but they had more of a family relationship together. So I could totally see why Janelle's kids would be more affected by it.
Yeah, and I have to go back to a sentiment that I shared last week and I think the week before, which is I'm completely judging Janelle for this and the impact, the undue impact that this has had on her children. She should have taken care of this shit 10 years ago, as soon as this started to happen, because she said in this episode that this marriage has been having problems for years. So, well beyond Flagstaff, back in Vegas, they have been having issues. But because it was comfortable enough for her, because she personally didn't need more, she let her kids go with less. And I just have a fundamental problem with that. And then we have Christine on the other end of the spectrum who was, it sounds like, unwilling for her kids to have less. And so she spent a lot of time bitching and moaning and driving Cody crazy, which is why she's the wife that he's taking it all out on. Janelle never did that. I kind of respect Christine more, even though I feel like she's in a lot of ways problematic. I respect Christine more for at least opening her mouth and saying something versus Janelle, who just let it all fucking happen.
I would agree with that. I think Janelle has been more complicit than Christine has in this whole entire endeavor, for sure.
We now bop back on over to Meri's house and we enter in this very, like, this quagmire of a conversation about how are you going to get the LuLaRoe clothes there? Are you going to put them on racks? And she's like, no. And he's like, well, I remember 7 years ago you put them on racks. And Robin's like, oh my God, he remembers something from 7 years ago. That's proof that there is hope. And I'm like, why are we talking about this though? Like, and then he's asking her where she's going to live in the B&B. He's also asking her what she's going to do with the B&B. And so we went around and around and around with useless conversation. But when we got there, I thought I sniffed with my little raccoon nose Cody starting to inquire a little bit about the money. Because from here, we get to, well, maybe you should just build a casita on Coyote Pass. And Mary's like, well, wait a minute. I thought we had to pay off everything and reparcel the land before we could build. Isn't that what you told Janelle? And he's like, well, yeah. I mean, we'd have to pay it off, which means you'd have to help us to pay it off. But then once you did that, we could build a casita or a barn dominium because, like, I have this car I don't really want to deal with and I work on from time to time. I have all this shit because when Christine kicked me out and Janelle kicked me out, it's so much storage. So I'd like to build something and then we could just have a loft and we can throw you in the loft. How about that, Meri? Does that sound good?
Well, and then he brings up the RV, her living in the RV because that'll be better than Janelle living in the RV. Then he brings up the casita. Then he brings up the barn dominium with all of his junk and his man shit that he doesn't want to look at. And he's like, yeah, you can live in the loft of the barn dominium. So now he had a basement wife with Christine, and now he's got a barn wife with Rob or with Meri. And so it's like, where's Janelle gonna be? She's the RV wife, I guess, or the dorm apartment wife, and then Robin's the McMansion wife.
And here we have Meri on the couch saying, how insulting. You're basically putting me out on the property with all the things you don't use anymore, all the things you don't want anymore, all the things you want to find a convenient place to store away. And that's super insulting to me. And I'm like, yeah, Meri, it's been super insulting to you. Yeah, Meri, when you guys went on that anniversary drive, I don't know, 2 years ago from the time of this filming, and he was like, there's no chance for you. Like, there's no chance for this. Like, he was telling you then, and you got to give Cody a little bit of credit. I know we hate to do that, but I feel like he's been telling her. Maybe he's not been super direct, but I mean, I would have gotten the message a long time ago.
Yeah, but like, I mean, maybe he's been telling her for camera. Maybe he hasn't really been talking to her like that in person. I don't know. Like, what are their private conversations like? Is he giving her false hope? Is he pretending like he still cares about her in the big picture? I don't know. Or maybe it's just all Robin, because Robin says, because Cody remembered that one thing from 7 years ago, this is proof, and this is why she tries to give Meri hope, because you don't just remember random things from 7 years ago if you don't still care about that person. And you don't talk about them going to Coyote Pass if you don't see them in their future. So maybe Robin's the only one that's actually stringing Meri along. Like maybe Cody is actually being direct with Meri this whole entire time, but Robin behind the scenes is telling Meri, no, he still cares. No, he still wants you in his big picture. Stay around. Look at the mountain.
Right. So Robin hears the barn dominium conversation and she hears hope. Oh, he's willing to make a place, even though it's above a garage on the property with all of the leprotic moles. But he's willing to make a place for her. And so therefore there's hope. But Meri hears that and she knows exactly what Cody's saying. Like, I don't, out of sight, out of mind. I don't want to have to deal with you anymore. And again, it is, to me, it's tragic. Anything else in this conversation that we find interesting? I mean, I think it's the underlying, I hope Cody says something that gives me a little bit of optimism to stay in this relationship. And then the crushing realization that he's not going to say anything, that he's not going to throw you a tether. He's not going to throw you a rope. He doesn't want you here. He's not interested in your life. He never calls you. So no, I don't think he leads her on. No, not at all. He doesn't care about you. And it's in this moment when she maybe made one last ditch effort that she realizes, oh, it's over. Game over.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty big in her talking head at the end of this conversation when Meri was like, I came into this conversation knowing that Cody probably wouldn't care, but I just wanted him to care just a little bit. But it's just sad to me that he just wants me to be in a fucking barn and like he just doesn't care. He like doesn't care about me, doesn't want to see me around. I'm just there with all of his other shit. So I thought that was big for Meri to have that realization, even if it's in her talking head, even if it's before she saw the tell-all where he said all that nasty shit about her, that she's coming to terms with the fact that he just doesn't give a shit and he never will.
Let me ask you this. There was that kind of closing moment where Robin is talking about how she has the desire to release Meri, to have Meri go and live her life and be happy. But it's Meri that's the one that says, no, you've got to tell me that there's hope. You can't let me give up. You've got to be the one to fight for me because I'm tired. I can't keep going. I'm in a dark place. But you're the one who has to carry the torch. Pick up the torch, carry the torch. And so that is why Robin is trying to broker this deal between them. Do we believe with any part of our fat raccoon bodies that kind of conversation ever happened between Robin and Meri? Bitch.
I don't think so. I don't think so at all. I mean, maybe in the context of like Meri being like, don't say this stuff to me because it's just going to make me depressed. Maybe she said something to that effect, but I don't think she was begging for Robin to carry the torch and the hope for the whole entire family because I don't think Robin actually gives a shit about the big family picture. I don't think she actually cares. I think she wanted to be the favorite wife and wanted all the other wives to not have a relationship with Cody and to be okay with that. And that's not healthy or good. I don't think Robin ever actually had good intentions with coming into this family.
Well, but the way she tells it, it's everybody else doing the things. I don't know why they're doing what they're doing. Cody with Christine, Cody with Janelle. This is something that they're all doing. And I really don't know what I can do to help. As if she didn't have a hand in the dissolution of all these relationships. And so it's just like, I'm getting tired, Beatrice, week after week of this campaign by Robin and Cody to pretend that they don't know why this shit is happening. Because even Cody in the next scene with Janelle, he's like, I don't know why she doesn't want to reconcile. I don't have any idea what could possibly be the problem. I'm like, you don't have an idea what the problem is? Are you serious? And we have Robin here is like, no, it's them doing all the things. It's me sitting in the $1.7 million McMansion with all my Prince and Dickensian art and mini bikes and amethysts and multiple vehicles and an RV. It's me, but I haven't done anything to contribute to this. I'm just like, oh my God, make it stop. It's too much Robin and Cody to me.
Oh, it's a lot of Robin and Cody, and they're doing it on purpose because they know how bad they looked in season 17. So they're doing it in this season thinking that it's going to make them look better, but it doesn't. It doesn't make them look good at all. And I'm tired of Robin's campaign with this too because she really thinks that we're going to buy it. She really thinks that we think she's innocent in all of this and that she actually wants the best for all of these wives. She doesn't give a shit. She doesn't give a shit. If she actually cared, she wouldn't have had Cody buy her that McMansion. She wouldn't have had Cody buy her kids those fucking motorized bikes and then not call his other kids. Like, she wouldn't advocate for that stuff.
It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. I'm really wondering what's going to happen in like future seasons because we can't go on like this with Cody and Robin and their thoroughly uninteresting children. I'm not talking about the tendies. I'm talking about the older kids who don't really even seem to want to be on the show. I'm not sure. Or maybe Robin doesn't want them to be on the show. I don't know. But like, we can't go on featuring them constantly lying. And again, I think production is doing a good job with showing us what's really happening. Like cutting from a scene of Robin saying they all need to stop talking about me into a scene of her beginning to talk about Christine. Like, production is doing that on purpose, I do believe. But I can't take much more of their fucking horse shit. And they're not smart. Like, I do think they're trying to manufacture sympathy and compassion from the audience because they know they had a bad season last season, but they're too dumb to pull it off. They're too dumb to do it. They don't know how to do it. And so they're lying in ways that it's easily found out, easily disproven.
Oh, yeah, 100%. A couple people on Reddit can disprove all of their lives in 1 second, but they really think that they're pulling the wool over all of our eyes. It's pretty funny, actually, in my opinion. Like, as painful as it is to watch, I think it's hilarious that every week they put on these lies and put on this bullshit. Like Cody at the beginning of this episode being like, me and Robin, we don't have a safe place to show our love. Like, what are you fucking talking about? You've literally been at her house 99% of the time for the last 10 years. Nobody's saying that you can't be in love with her. They're just saying, can you actually pay attention to the rest of us, though? Because you made a commitment to the rest of us, though?
Well, that was just quasi-polygamist mess. Quasi-polygamous mess. That's what Cody called it in this episode. I'm like, oh, now it's a quasi-polygamous. It wasn't ever really polygamy. It was just quasi-faux polygamy and a mess. Well, what hand did you have in creating this mess, Cody Brown? Can you intelligently relay that? No, he cannot. No, he cannot. Because he's dumb.
Yeah.
He's a hateful person. Okay, last scene, we have that awkward AF date between Janelle. And Janelle lets us know at the beginning, honey, she's like, look, it's got to be easy. It's got to be superficial. I just want to go eat some good food, honey. I don't want to talk about like how neither of us have gotten a counselor. I don't want to talk about our past and all the things that are wrong. I just want to have a nice day because there's familiarity here. We've been together for 30 years. I enjoy his company, generally speaking. So if it can be easy like this, I'm open to it. What did you think of this weird date?
It was awkward AF. And it seemed like Cody was really trying hard to get Janelle to try and reconcile and try to enjoy her time with him. She's like looking pretty and she's like trying to be nice and everything, but the second she gets in the car, it's just awkward silence, awkward taco. And Cody's like, "Well, happy birthday, I guess." And she's like, "Okay, thanks." And then silence. And then I guess they turn off the camera at some point because it's too much pressure. It's too much pressure. I wish I would have known what they were talking about with the cameras off, and if it was just
Mm-hmm.
as awkward with the cameras off. But I don't know. I thought this date was cringe. I thought it was just Cody trying to manipulate Janelle into staying in the family a little bit longer so he can still get her money.
Yeah, he tried to get us to believe that he was super excited, that he was jonesing for a potential kiss, that, he has loved her before and so he can love her again. But I'm like, what is your ulterior motive? Because if you wanted to love her, if you wanted to salvage this relationship, then you should have been doing a fuck ton more over the last 6 months. You should have been calling Savannah. You should have been sending flowers. You should have been apologizing profusely. You should have been enumerating the ways in which you were going to improve yourself and do better in the future. Like, you should have been doing something. Nothing is not something. It's not even something a little bit. And all you've done is nothing. And I want to know, does Savannah ever get a Christmas present? I want to know, because we never followed up whether Savannah ever got a Christmas present. My suspicion is that she has not. And Janelle mentions it in this segment. She's like, he hasn't, again, she says he has not talked to Savannah. So this is sticking in her craw, how he's treating her youngest child. And so she's thinking about that as she's going on this date. And this reminded me of, Beatrice. I've been married a million times, right? And I remember one of my husbands, after we had broken up, wanted to come back. And I knew that he was interested in rekindling with me. And so he came back in for the holidays and family and stuff. And he stayed at my place. And I could just feel how much he wanted to kind of go back to the way things were and fix things. But I was so dead inside with him. I was just so uncomfy and I was not comfortable. And even normal conversation with him was stilted because I knew that he had this expectation. I knew that he wanted something from me that I actually could feel at that moment I could never give him. We would never, ever, ever, ever get back together again, which is sad. But I think that's what Janelle realized when she went to hold his hand like she used to do all the years before. And all of a sudden, oh, I'm dead inside. I feel absolutely nothing for this top ramen-headed dude. I don't want to be here. I don't want to be with him. I want to say I'm thankful she went on that date because without doing so, she might not have really realized her body's physical response is no. Because maybe she's thinking to herself because she hasn't talked to him so she can fantasize about all the possibilities. Maybe she's thinking to herself, maybe there's a future. Maybe there's a possibility that we can come around to it. But just touching him is the no. And I kind of love to hear it. I love
Oh,
it.
I love it so much. I mean, even after last episode when she's like, I miss him in my bed and I miss all of our times together and everything. And then contrast that with this episode where even just holding his hand grosses her out pretty much and makes her uncomfortable. It's really great to see. I love it because I think you're right. I think she needed that confirmation that it was truly over because it's kind of a hard thing. I mean, that's 30 years of marriage. Like, how do you walk away from that? You have so much history. You have all these kids together. You have this giant fucking family and this TV show and all of these things that you've accumulated together. It's really hard to walk away. But like we said before, when a woman's done, she's done. There's no getting her back.
Right. And a woman will usually tell you years and years and years in advance, like, dude, I'm almost done. I'm getting ready to be done. I need you to do X, Y, and Z, so I'm not done. A guy won't do it. And then shocked Pikachu when the woman is done.
Yeah.
Janelle is donezo. D-U-N, done. Okay. That was the end of the episode. Then we had a bit of a preview. We see that scene, honey, that we want to get to so badly with Garrison and the rest of the kids and Christine and Janelle over the dining room table saying, Robin can have him. We are grown-ass people right now, and we don't need a father figure, which, may I just say, I don't agree. I think kids need their parents. I am a woman of a certain age. And when I tell you, I still want my mommy and I still want my daddy. Well, sort of. He's a bit of a bastard. But I mean, what I would give for time with my parents because they're both gone. Like Garrison absolutely needs his father. He's just saying that so that he can get over it. But
Yeah.
this is where Gwen said, it hurts. Yeah, we don't need him necessarily, but it still hurts.
Yeah, you still need them. They're just saying that just so they can move on with their lives, but they're in pain when they say that.
100%. Then we have McKelty playing both sides, going over with her baby to go see Robin and Cody. And I could care less. I could care less. They're just trying to prop up dumb McKelty so they can say, look, world, some of our kids actually think we're awesome. And McKelty's just playing right into it while she's not paid whatsoever by TLC. So go off, Queen. Go off, Queen. Then we have Christine's ex-anniversary, which is, I guess, the year anniversary since she left Cody. And then that interesting comment that she makes at the end, which I want to get your take on, which is like, I'm not always going to be there for her. And I think she's referring to Janelle. Did you hear her say that?
Yeah, I did hear her say that. So you think it's about Janelle? Why?
I felt like because she was talking about Janelle, wanting to invite Janelle, wanting Janelle to be introduced to some new friends and a different kind of life for herself. And then they tagged on because I won't always be there for her. She kind of mumbled it. I'm not sure if that's exactly what she said, but I thought it was about Janelle. Did you not think so?
No, I didn't know what she was talking about. I didn't know what it was in reference to. So I guess we'll have to see. But I mean, if it's about Janelle, I guess that makes sense because she can't just always be down there being a support friend. Like she's got to move on with her life as well. And if Janelle wants to stay with Cody, which we know she doesn't, but if she wants to stay with Cody, Christine can't really be around that forever and can't always support that. So, I mean, I guess I can understand that.
Yeah, but she's been saying up to now that they're a package deal and that they're still sister wives. So, like, yeah, we'll see. It's probably some production fake out, some
Probably.
storyline that doesn't actually materialize. Well, interesting episode. I mean, again, we're taking a long time. We're circling the fucking donkey a lot with Meri and even with Janelle. Like, I kind of want to just get to the point. I want to get to the dissolution of this relationship. I want to get to the moment of clarity for Meri where she realizes, oh, this dude's making a straight up fool of me on national television, much less to my own family. I want to get there. I hope we get there soon because keep in mind, as we discussed, Beatrice, I think this season ends beginning of November, so we really only have October left, right? We've got what, 5 more episodes to
Yeah,
go?
I think it goes into mid-November is what I thought because then we still have the tell-alls. So maybe we'll have a three-parter tell-all. That would be so great with a different host. So maybe we'll get into some more meat, but it has been a lot of conversational stuff that's just been one scene each time. Like they're not
Mm-hmm.
doing anything, there's nothing happening. So I'm like, let's just get to the fucking point. Let's just get to Meri and Janelle leaving Cody's ass and him dealing
Yes.
with that.
Yeah, he's not going to deal with it. He's not going to show us how he's dealing with it. All we're going to see is ancillary or off-gassed anger and how he's turning into an incel. And we're going to be able to glean that that's what's going on. But he's not going to be honest. Neither of them are going to be honest. By the way, both Cody and Robin were in our neck of the woods this weekend for Christine's wedding. Apparently, they were at the DFW airport. And most folks on Reddit think they went to the big old gun show because, he does something with guns, honey.
Interesting. I did also see a picture on Reddit of somebody who'd spotted Cody and Robin having a romantic date at like some restaurant or whatever, but I didn't realize that they were in DFW as well.
Yeah. And my husband likes him a gun, honey. We could
Hmm.
have, well, you were sick, but we could have very easily, I could have roped him into going into Fort Worth and going to that gun show just to find Cody Brown.
Why
See what
didn't
he's
you?
doing over there because I couldn't be arsed. I couldn't be arsed, honey. No, I was eating. I was watching shows and shit. I'm like, fuck Cody Brown forever. That's how I feel about it. All right. Is there anything else that we need to say to these beautiful raccoons, Beatrice?
Well, if you love our podcast, please give us a lovely 5-star review on your favorite podcast platform. It really helps our podcast grow.
Yes, thank you so much. And again, we apologize for maybe the different audio. Certainly, if you're watching on video, it looks a lot different right now. But Beatrice has been sick, and we didn't want Beatrice to get Delia sick. So we're going to be remote for tonight and maybe for the next pod. But we will be back as soon as possible, as soon as we're healthy. And you look like you're better. Are you faking it? Are you putting it on for the raccoons?
I'm feeling a lot better today than I was yesterday, girl. I just got this stupid cough.
All right, so maybe the next pod we'll do it this way, but then we're right back in the saddle, in the stallion, like the stallion in Cody's ring. We're going to be riding it into the dumpster, baby, next week for sure. And until then, we just want to say we love all of you so very much, and we will see you next time. Peace out. Bye, guys.